Brothers and sisters, I stand before you today in the shadow of a crumbling empire, an empire that spends billions on wars overseas while its own house falls apart. They want us to believe this is progress, that this is democracy. But I tell you it's hypocrisy. And it's time we speak the truth. Let's start with racial inequality. They tell us we're equal now, that the chains of slavery and Jim Crow have been broken. But what good is it to be out of chains if the prison cell remains? Our communities are still trapped in poverty, trapped in underfunded schools, trapped under the boot of a police state that sees our lives as expendable. We were promised freedom, but freedom without justice is no freedom at all. They redline our neighborhoods, deny us jobs, and call it a free market. They fill our prisons with our sons and daughters and call it justice. But we know better. We know that the struggle for black liberation in America is not over. It's just wearing a new mask. And let's talk about Islam, brothers and sisters. They paint our faith as foreign, as something to fear. But Islam is a faith of justice, of unity, of resistance against oppression. It is a faith that calls for the liberation of all people, not just some. Islam taught me the meaning of brotherhood, not just among black men, but among all the oppressed, no matter their color or creed. This is why I stand with Palestine. Palestine is not just a distant land. It is a mirror reflecting our own struggle here in America. The bombs that fall on Gaza are paid for with your tax dollars. The apartheid walls in the West Bank are built with the same racism that built walls around our ghettos. And while Palestinians are evicted from their homes, look around. How many black families have been evicted from theirs right here in the so-called richest nation on earth? Now let's talk about this political system. The same system that funds these wars abroad leaves our schools in shambles, our streets full of potholes, and our people sleeping in tents. They tell us there's no money for healthcare, no money for housing, no money for education, but there's always money for bombs. There's always money for Israel. There's always money to destabilize nations and fund coups. But when it comes to feeding the hungry or housing the homeless, suddenly the coffers are empty. This is a system that prioritizes profit over people, power over justice. It's a system that will spend $800 billion on war, but leave 40 million people in America living in poverty. It's a system that calls itself a democracy. But what kind of democracy allows corporations to buy politicians while the people's voices are silenced? So what must we do? First, we must organize. Revolution doesn't come from politicians, it comes from the people. We need to build coalitions, not just among black people, but among all the oppressed. Black, brown, poor, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, atheist, it doesn't matter. The system divides us so it can conquer us, but united, we are unstoppable. Second, we must educate ourselves. Don't rely on their media to tell you the truth. Their news will show you burning buildings in Gaza, but not the bombs that lit the fire. They'll show you crime in our neighborhoods, but not the policies that created the conditions for it. Knowledge is power, and if we don't educate ourselves, we will remain slaves to their lies. And finally, we must demand accountability from our government, from our leaders, from ourselves. If this system will not serve the people, then it is time to build one that will. And let me be clear. I'm not talking about reforming a rotten house. I'm talking about tearing it down and building a new foundation, one built on justice, equality, and peace. Brothers and sisters, the time is now. The world is watching, and history will judge us. Will we remain silent while bombs fall on Palestine? Will we remain silent while our people sleep on the streets? Or will we rise as one people and demand justice, not just for ourselves, but for all those who are oppressed? The choice is ours, but I will leave you with this. A man who stands for nothing will fall for anything. Stand for truth, stand for justice, stand for humanity. Assalamu alaikum.